So welcome everyone to this first webinar in our joint webinar series with the Center for Strategic Philanthropy at the University of Cambridge Judge Business School and the Tharawat Family Business Forum. It's a great pleasure for us to have you all here. I can see already the list of joining people are fantastic philanthropists in their own right. So we are delighted to have you here with us today. My name is Farida Al-Agami. I'm the General Manager of the Tharawat Family Business Forum. And it's a great pleasure for me to welcome our partner and friend, Claire Woodcraft, who's the Executive Director of the Center for Strategic Philanthropy at the University of Cambridge Judge Business School. And of course, in our second part of the of our session today, we are welcoming with great privilege Her Excellency Huda Al Khamis Kano, who is the founder of the Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation and the founder and artistic director of the Abu Dhabi Festival. I will just, before I start with our little introduction, I'll just give you a little bit of an overview over how the session today will run. We will have a quick introduction about the series. Then Claire will give us a more structured theoretical framework on some of the challenges and opportunities in philanthropy today. And of course, then we go to the key part of this session, which is a conversation with Her Excellency about her own philanthropic trajectory and basically the work that she has been doing and what we can all learn from how she has been successfully building such an impact around arts and music. In a conclusion, we will then look back on a little bit what we have learned, and we will also look out on the next two sessions of this webinar series. You are most welcome. Again, I'm very aware who's on this call. I'm very familiar with many of you. I know that you have a lot of ideas and that you have a lot of thoughts on the matter. So please join the conversation. You can use the Q&A field. You can send us messages, but you're also most welcome to participate in the polls that we are going to launch. This will also help us understand where the field is, what the concerns are that people have, and how we can help as a joint collaboration between CSP and Tharawat. If you have any trouble, any issues, please feel free to join, connect with Joy, who will be happy to help you out. So very briefly, Tharawat and CSP, or CSP and Tharawat, a wonderful connectivity, a wonderful collaboration that we started a couple of weeks ago when we realized that truly one of the things that we have in common is that we do believe that philanthropic efforts of family firms is specifically important in this year. I think we can all say that 2020 has been an exceptionally challenging year for many of us. Many families are struggling, many individuals are struggling. And what we have seen coming from family firms, from family offices in terms of their philanthropic efforts to support their communities has been absolutely incredible and inspiring. So now we believe that there is a lot of opportunity to build on that, to build and to scale and to increase the impact and the efficiency of the giving that is happening in the region. And this is one of the reasons why we decided to collaborate on this first webinar series, to really give us an opportunity to have a structured conversation about what philanthropy means, what it means to family firms and family wealth, and how we can make sure that as a community of peers, we can really build on this and expand the effects and the outcomes of that philanthropic effort. So today's session is going to be a deep dive. It's going to be very concentrated. We're going to keep the time, I promise all of you. And the idea is that hopefully you will go away with 2 or 3 points or learning points that you can go back to your own foundations or to your own projects and think about how you can improve, increase, or shift some of their focus, if that is something that you want to do. I'm also very aware that we have on the call a few young next gens who are actually just starting out as philanthropists. So this is a great opportunity for you also to ask questions, not just to Her Excellency, but also to Claire, who truly is one of the leading voices in the space of philanthropy in the region. So without any further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague Claire Woodcraft to take over from here and give us a fantastic overview over some of the challenges and opportunities in philanthropy today. Over to you, Claire.
Thank you, Farida. A real pleasure and delight to be here today and to be working with you and the team and to have found so quickly, obviously we've known each other for a long time, but since the establishment of the CSP, we quickly found an area of alignment ourselves with the work that you're doing with family offices and philanthropy in the region. We were recently set up in the University of Cambridge. Actually, we just formally launched in June of this year. Thanks to our founder, who is from the region. So Badr Jafar is himself, of course, from the Gulf, from the UAE, and he established our center with exactly this purpose in mind, to help improve impact. We recognize that there is a significant growth of philanthropy from growth markets, of which we consider the Middle East one. That is the focus of our center. So we are looking specifically at the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Africa, because we believe is the future of philanthropy. That is where we were going to see significant capital coming to market. That's where we'd like to see more research, our role at the center, in addition to advocacy and education. That's really what we're focused on. And essentially, to my mind, that these are conversations that many of us in the sector have had for a long time. This is about peer learning. How do we stop reinventing the wheel? Too often we see in philanthropy that everybody is very well intentioned, but often we find there are duplicative efforts and that there simply isn't enough connection between philanthropists to help us learn from each other, partner with each other, and ultimately to increase impact. Essentially, that's what we're all here for, clearly. So I think it's important that we say that this session today is really meant to be about peer learning. As you said, this is going to be published online, so it's not just for this initial audience, but there will be a much wider audience later. And we really believe that there is a role for intermediary organizations like ourselves, like Sarawat, to play, to help develop the philanthropic community, to help connect the philanthropic community, but ultimately to help increase impact. And I think just as the run-up in our conversation led to this session this morning, Farida, you will remember we started asking ourselves, so what are the challenges? What is it that philanthropists struggle with at the moment? We know there are next-gen philanthropists coming to market who are keen to do things differently, to do things perhaps more digitally, to do things perhaps more entrepreneurially. And yet there are still some core challenges that we see across the generations that come back to haunt us relentlessly. And that's really why we wanted to focus on this session today. Just quickly run through those challenges and then to hear from Her Excellency about how she has addressed some of those issues. I wanted to start just by reiterating some of the questions that I've heard very consistently through my time working in philanthropy over the last 25 odd years, and focused mainly, I should say, in the Middle East. This issue of focus. Where do you go? What do you do? Where do you start your investment? So we know that many philanthropists have a personal passion. They have an area that they are personally interested in. Often that relates to their personal journey. It's a socioeconomic issue that they themselves have witnessed growing up during their career. It's something they really feel they want to give back to when they're in a position where they have resources and they feel they can do something. That focus is often a challenge. So is it just the area that you're super passionate about, or are there other factors to take into consideration? We believe that there are other factors. We believe that, of course, first and foremost, it's great to start where your heart is. It's great to start where your expertise is, as we will hear from our speaker today. That's a wonderful starting point, because that means you bring not only financial resources and passion, but you also bring deep expertise on the topic. But there are also other considerations. For example, has your family office already built a portfolio of philanthropy? Are they already working in multiple areas? They might be small initiatives, they might be scalable initiatives, they might be partnerships, they might be historical initiatives that the family has inherited from earlier generations, or they might be some random initiative that a key stakeholder had asked them to get involved in. So always think about, what does your existing portfolio look like, and what can you build on? What might you want to exit, and what might you want to start anew? Increasingly, we know that philanthropy, of course, is now looking at multiple different structures. It's not just the case of the foundations of the past. We have social impact funds, we have social enterprises, we have donor-advised funds. For any new or existing philanthropist, that's also a question to look at. How do you best want to deploy your philanthropic capital? Do you want to do it through the creation of a foundation, or are there different innovative ways that you can look at where you can best invest for impact. Also, super important is looking at aligning with national agendas. We know that multiple governments in the region have very strong national development plans and visions for their own markets. It's extremely important that philanthropists are looking at those national development plans and looking at where can they best add value. Philanthropy is often defined as private capital for public good that can fill the gaps. Public sectors are not always able to cover all aspects of our socioeconomic development. So how can philanthropists work with local governments to understand how they can complement rather than duplicate public sector initiatives? That's also an important factor to take into consideration. And then finally, perhaps one of the other critical aspects is, do you create your own capacity in-house? Do you build your own team? Or are there other ways of partnering, creating donor-advised funds where you can better create impact? So these are just a few of the questions that we wanted to highlight that come up really systematically and that we hope today's session and our further learning will help to address. And now let's go to the opportunities. There are various socioeconomic trends that have happened over the last 10 years or so as philanthropy has really come onto the radar screen. Even 10 years ago, the international development community wasn't necessarily considering the role of philanthropic capital in promoting sustainable development and specifically promoting the sustainable development goals. That's no longer the case. We know that the OECD in particular is really looking to philanthropy to help support delivering on the SDGs. And we believe that's an important opportunity. The SDGs are essentially a global blueprint for creating a more prosperous world and dealing with the multiple entrenched challenges that we currently face. Philanthropic capital can play a huge role. As you're pondering where to deploy your own philanthropic investments, do think about the SDGs as a framework, not a diktat, but as a framework that can help you decide which particular area you want to focus on. And in so doing, you can start to build a community. You can start to understand which other philanthropists in your market are also focused on a similar SDG. And you can also support government initiatives in those areas. We know that all global governments are committed to delivering on the SDGs and have their own reporting mechanisms to the UN. How can we as philanthropists help support their journey and better ensure alignment and scalable impact? We also, of course, urge you to work with intermediaries like ourselves. Rawat is a wonderful infrastructure organization that can connect philanthropists, that can provide resources, research, thought leadership. Our role at the Center for Strategic Philanthropy serves a similar purpose with a slightly different geographical footprint, but our mission is to create academic research and evidence so that we can produce evidence-based approaches to philanthropy, but also we're an educational platform so that we can help next-gen philanthropists with their learning journey and deliver more impact. And finally, I think an obvious one, particularly we should mention with the pandemic, is the issue of data and digitalization. We have just finished our own first research report on the impact of COVID-19 on philanthropy. And we see that this has been a turning point for the digitization of philanthropy in terms of how we communicate, how we measure, how we partner, how we collaborate. These are some of the opportunities that we would urge new philanthropists and existing philanthropists to revisit, to assess how those can help you do what is we're ultimately all interested in, is maximizing our impact. So on that note, I would like to ask Farida, before we go to our amazing keynote speaker, I'd like to ask Farida just to run an initial poll that speaks to the points that I just mentioned of, as philanthropists, how do we choose our focus? Over to you, Farida.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Claire, for that wonderful introduction. I think you really beautifully framed, some of the challenges and some of the opportunities that we actually find ourselves facing at the moment. I'm going to launch a poll and I would love to get all your feedback because I think we have philanthropists from about 10 countries on the call right now. So this is going to be a beautiful opportunity for us to understand a little bit what you are thinking and what you are doing. So the two questions that we would like you to answer for us is, does your family business or your family office already have a defined philanthropic focus? So you can answer yes, no, or that you're working on it. Or the second question is, do you currently feel you have access to the right tools and best practice to develop your philanthropic activities. So that is also very important. We do feel that probably is lacking a little bit, but I'm very curious to see what your opinions are. I'll give you another 2-3 seconds to answer. I can actually already see the numbers, and it's really interesting. Will be great to comment on. So thank you so much, everybody, for voting. Great. And I can share the results with you. You should be seeing the results on your screen now. And Claire, happy to get your comments kind of off the cuff. So
So I think this is good news. It's good news for all of us, Farida. Certainly the second question, noting that people really are struggling to access the right tools and best practice. And I think, again, that's part of the reason why we've created this webinar series, and something that we hope to respond to help create those tools. And good to see that people are being open and saying that, yes, they haven't yet been able to choose the focus. I think that's something else in philanthropy, that often we hesitate to be open and upfront about our challenges. We're always a little bit worried of saying, we're struggling, something doesn't work, as if there's an expectation on philanthropists to always have a positive message. It's super important that we're able to share lessons and share challenges, because that's how we can maximize impact.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that comment. I fully agree with this. I think also from a Tarawat perspective, as an educational forum and as a best practice forum, it's really important to us that we create the right tools for all of you to be able to build on all the efforts that you're already making, which I know personally are absolutely incredible and so vital to what is happening in the region. So what I would like to do is hand over back to Claire to now introduce our wonderful keynote speaker for this session and basically have an introduction and the first couple of questions.
Thank you, Farida. So it's my absolute delight and pleasure and honor to welcome with us this morning, for some of us this afternoon, for some of you, Her Excellency Huda Al-Khamis Kano. As you will all know, she herself is an absolute pioneer in the space of philanthropy in the Arab world, particularly as a woman, particularly as somebody who has gone beyond just the geographical remits of the Gulf and really become a global inspiration for philanthropists looking to the art sector. So Her Excellency has dedicated her entire life to aspiring artists and to promoting arts and culture as a powerful force for prosperity. She, of course, founded the Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation that we all know and love, ADMAF, in itself really a role model for foundations in the region, and certainly in my experience of working in the region, one of the first foundations that I ever heard of when I started working in the Middle East. And she's also the artistic director of the Abu Dhabi Festival, which she established in 2004. And of course, appointed to the board of the Abu Dhabi Authority for Culture and Heritage, now the Department of Culture and Tourism, again, an entity that has been really pioneering support for arts and culture, not just in the UAE, but also beyond. She herself has received multiple awards for her dedication to arts, education, and female development, and multiple orders bestowed upon her, including the Order of the British Empire. She serves on the board of multiple also commercial organizations, including the Cleveland Clinic and the International Advisory Board of the Edinburgh International Festival. So really an all-rounder that is working not just in the third sector, but also working with businesses, of course, working no doubt closely with her own family business. And what a super rich background, Your Excellency, as an Emirati national, daughter of a Saudi businessman with a Syrian mother and born in Beirut. So you're a real citoyen du monde, as we say in French. So it's really a pleasure to have you with us here today. We're really looking forward to hearing about your journey, because we think that your own experience can help others who are embarking on a similar one. So I just have a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you. First of all so obviously you are deeply enshrined in arts and culture. It's obviously something that you've been very passionate about for a long, long time. And I'm assuming that there was never any doubt in your mind that when you started your philanthropic journey, that would be the area that you would focus on. I'd like you to just talk to us, if you would, about how you went through that journey. So what were the things that you took into consideration when you decided you wanted to do philanthropy, about where you were going to invest your capital? Were you going to do it in the region, more broadly, close to home, from afar? Talk to us a little bit about how you chose your focus. Thank you, Your Excellency. Handing over to you. I think you're currently on mute, but I'm sure you will unmute so you can be with us.
Hi,
Good
thank you.
morning.
And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever we are all over the world. Thank you, Claire, for your introduction. And thank you, Farida, for having me.
My
Uh,
pleasure.
just to answer your question, there is always a story behind everything, at least I do. So, how and where? First of all, I didn't know that I was a philanthropist. I discovered that. I learned that. Um, Claire, I think in terms of the philanthropy, if I may start with this, first and foremost, from my experience, and for me, Farida, and everyone who's listening to me, I started driven by passion. I started driven or with a conviction that I can make a difference. Uh, I knew that there is a problem somewhere that I can probably fix. I'm going to try to fix. And where is the root of this problem? For me, it was the how we can enhance cultural understanding, how we can open doors for more creative thinking, advocate for creative thinking and free creative thinking, Farida. That was essential for me. Invest in the generations to come, invest in their capacity. My currency was the arts,
Mhm.
using the art to open the doors, to give opportunity for all of us to come together and continue building our civilizations. This was what I was, that I wanted to do. How, what triggered that? A little story, Claire. I was attending a concert, invited to attend this concert. And on my way in, I found a young Emirati, and he was looking, through the door, and I wondered, why he was looking, is not coming in, and la curiosité du chat. So with my curiosity, I asked him, you're invited, you want to come in? He said, no, it's by invitation, as you know, and I can't come in. He said, you love music? He said, I love music, but we were not taught that. I come from the public schools and it's very little that what we have, but I love to, and I wish I can come in. And me, who don't do that, but I don't really follow the rules. So I dragged him by my hand and he came in with me and my husband. And luckily, Claire, there were a seat next to us. Of course, they're friends, so I asked him politely if this is possible, but halfway in, I don't think they thought that they can tell me, no, Mrs. Kanu, this is not possible. So they really accommodated us. And it started from there. So I started talking to him and he said, really, Mrs. Kanu, we need more of these opportunities, more of the learning, more of the liberal arts, more of the, talking to others, being with others, opening doors, and so on. And from there, I started the foundation, which is the Music and Arts Foundation and the Abu Dhabi Festival. So how did I do that? First of all, Claire, I tell you the truth here. I didn't know how much it's going to take from me, financially, funding, and sustainability. And I believed in my credibility. I believe that I can be credible no matter what. I will not. By nature, I'm a bit, I'm on the honest, very, very, very honest side. So if you tell me, let's take this door, I'll tell you, no, no, let's take this door. This is the right place to go. So so I believed in that. And how I didn't have an idea. I went straight to the ocean to swim in an ocean, and I'm not a good swimmer. But it was passion, 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 perseverance, and passion. Started there with whatever Muhammad and I had some, fund on the side. We started with their investing in opening door education, knowledge, I didn't go to the education as in class education, Claire, but we went to opening door to knowledge. How do we do, how the art scene is, how civilizations are built, and talking to people. We started this way at the beginning. Then with people loved it. And the young, Claire, the young were ready. All what they need is people to help them realize their dream. So I supported young artists, young musicians, young entrepreneur. For me, the entrepreneurship is the art of the entrepreneurship. So we started with that. Then the people for the private, we went to the one, and I thought that when I believe, not be, I all believe that this will work. Something you're convinced, Claire. There is something inside that tells you this is needed and it will work, and it is progressive and it will be part of the progress. Don't tell me how it's something born in you. So people came on board, followed us, young. My strength started with the young, with this young Emirati and his friends, and this continued to build. And I listened to them and their need, and we moved and we moved and we moved until now it's 25 years at MAF, and the Abu Dhabi Festival is 18 years, and
Wow.
we built up a strong partnership. You told
I
me
loved
where,
it. Sorry,
absolutely,
sorry.
but please, you told me where. I mean, the expansion of that. Farida and Claire and everyone who's listening, and I wish I can see you. Never in my thoughts, I thought I'm going to go so far. I mean, partners with the word. We have thousands and hundreds of thousands of people who are with us, partnering with the word, gaining their respect and trust,
Mhm.
uh, gaining the trust of the funders who
Mhm.
came on board, the trust of the government. I did not imagine that I'm going to go so far, but I was able to go so far because of this unity that you
Mhm.
were able to create. And so, if I answered this question, this is
Yes.
how I started, and yeah.
Thank you. You've given us just a fabulous masterclass on how to do philanthropy in the space of just a few minutes. So really my hats off to you, Your Excellency. I just want to pick up on some of the comments. So you've essentially confirmed that, of course, you went where your passion was, where your heart was around art, but you went to the gap in the market. You didn't create something that everybody else had already done. You said, okay, where's the gap? And in a way, you almost did research. So you had your young Emirati who said, there's not enough of this. So that's wonderful. So I love the fact that you responded to the gap in the market. I love the fact that you talked about it being entrepreneurial. That's so important in these days because that brings innovation and system thinking. I love the fact you talk about trust and how you had to build trust with your partners by being open and transparent and accountable and credible. And I love the fact that you said you wanted to go to the root of the problem. And that's something we would urge philanthropists to do. So not tweak things around the edge, but go to the root of the problem and try and find systematic, sustainable solution and one that can also build capacity. So I have another question for you, and then I'm going to hand over to Farida that relates to exactly that. And it relates to the conversation you and I had with our friend Badr just a few weeks ago. And we were talking about COVID-19, and you were mentioning, the resilience of ADMAF that you have created. You've achieved that, which is really not easy. That double success of not only going with your passion, but creating something that's sustainable. So as you said, ADMAF has been around for decades now. It's a leader in the field. You mentioned that you saw through COVID-19, a lot of organizations, as we have seen, really struggling, that ADMAF has managed to come through. Talk to us about what it is that you have built into ADMAF that have made it so resilient and made it so sustainable.
Thank you. It's a very important question, I think, for all of us philanthropists and people who want to make a difference. What made it sustainable and the test came in COVID-19 because none of us was ready for COVID-19. Two things, Claire. One, you need to be ready. Ready, I mean, for any crisis. How are we ready for any crisis? Your governance, your accounts, your funding, your internal audit, your compliance, and your audit. I learned the hard way. I was very ambitious and we want to do everything because driven by passion and we want it now. And we don't realize that we need patience. And I learned to be patient. So one thing, and I thank my husband Muhammad Kanu for that, and my nephew Khaldun Al Mubarak, who was 25 years ago, he was advisor of the foundation, and they both were talking, and they both told me, and I remember Khaldun's where he said, "Auntie, never work under deficit, no matter what, no matter what. Let's work with what we have. Please help us help you." So that you don't get some let us help you take some burden off your shoulder of making sure that your accounts are always you never work under deficit. And of course Muhammad Kano as well again and again, credibility, accounts, compliance, and governance. But this made it easier for me than maybe other colleagues who were working under deficit, who had problem in their governance, in their audit, for a reason or another, not for credibility. I'm not questioning that at all, but this helped Claire to survive. This is one. Two, which is for me equally important, Farida, if I may say, you built up a trust. You build up relations with your supporters, with your funders, with your government, with everyone who came with you on board to achieve. Your major stakeholder, your strategic partners. This bond of trust helped me survive the COVID-19. Every festival, every organization lost. We lost funds, we lost money, we lost a lot. And also human resources, people had to go home. The ability to cross this bridge was my reserve, my advice of how to manage the accounts and the funding. And so this ability, plus the trust of my government, of the people who have invested in me, supported me to cross this, Claire. And of course, there's something I thank God for. They tell me, my God, you're so têtu, you're so stubborn. And they hate me for that. You know, they say, let's get rid of her, give her what she wants, but for God's sake, let her get out of here. So stubbornness, this resilience, and the generosity of the artist, the generosity, this of giving, of understanding. Some of them stood with us with nothing. I couldn't give them. I said, I have nothing to give you. Then they gave and they gave. And so the generosity of the people, the trust of my government, the trust of my stakeholder, and governance, Farida, governance in all its form. Yes.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I love the fact that you've raised governance. I mean, I think it's something that we certainly are looking at the center in our research portfolio. I think it's something that philanthropists often we overlook. It is super. I have seen so many cases of where if governance is not working, the underlying operations don't work, and therefore you can't deliver impact. And I love the fact that you've talked about really bringing that private sector entrepreneurial mentality to the social investment space, by having things like proper financial management, audit, avoiding a deficit. And also the point you make about reserves is something we are hearing now. There is a new call for action for all third sector organizations to have reserves. We know at the moment this is not a common thing in our sector. And I like the fact that you mentioned that, but I think even more powerful is, as you said, your reserves were reserves of trust and credibility. And that's really about your brand and your reputation, which again is something we don't often talk enough about in philanthropy. Sometimes we talk about the programs and measuring impact. If you don't have a strong reputation and a strong brand, it's difficult to create that trust. So again, that was extremely helpful. Thank you. And a very powerful insight into how to deliver impact. I'm going to hand over now to Farida, who has a few more questions for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Claire.
Your Excellency, it's truly a pleasure and an honor. I'm taking so many notes, by the way. I'm learning for all the work that we are trying to do, and definitely this will be comments that I'm coming back to for sure. So on this call, we have philanthropists from around 10 countries, mainly from the Middle East. And I know most of them personally, and I know that most of them have a incredible passion for what they are doing, a drive to make that change. Very similar, I think what you've described, just you can make a change. I am able to contribute and be someone in as a change maker. But very often we stumble, and you've already outlined a lot of points, but we do stumble at the conceptual phase already. People remain stuck in loops about thinking of, how do I formulate my vision? How do I bring them to life? So if I was presenting you with 10, philanthropists that are working very hard, have a great vision, what would be some recommendations that you would give them to bring their vision to life?
Farida, I'm sorry, but I lost you. Your internet connection is unstable.
Oh, no problem. I'll just repeat my question, Your Excellency. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Your Excellency?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Oh, okay, let me repeat my question then. So please. My question was, if I were to present to you 10 philanthropists right now from the Middle East, who all have very different, visions, one on poverty or, food or schooling, education. But if we assumed that some of them were a little bit stuck in how to bring their visions to life, what would be some of the recommendations that you could give them to get kick-started with their initial kind of intentions?
Thank you, Allah يسلمك, Farida. First of all, I would say, write what you like, why you're doing this. Just take a paper and a pen and ask yourself a question: why am I doing this? You answer this question. Okay, you will write your answer. Then you will ask another question: I'm doing this only for today, or do I want it for the future? Shall I leave a legacy behind? Would I like this to last? So answer your questions. Yes, I would like this to last. This would be your vision. This would be because the vision is really what you like to have for a long, and from here, 10 years to come, 20 years to come, this is your vision, what you like to see. Okay, so we will write everything on this paper, and this will be our vision. I don't know how to write. Ask for help. Ask for help. Get someone to write it. And now they have the marketing and communication and this and that, and this is all fantastic and needed. But all this without your what comes from inside, it will be flat. So this, I think, this is what I did. So the vision, and then the vision of the foundation came, and we built up on this vision as we grew. Mission. This is the vision. How do you would like to execute this vision? What is my mission? Is it a call for creativity? I write it. Is it a commitment to create and innovate and produce and preserve and present and inspire work of music and the arts? In my case, I wrote it. Is it a promise to the youth to invest in them to deliver their dream? I write it. Is it a destination for a global art talent? Is it a conviction to continue build for and partner with the world for to build civilization for the beauty, for the future, for us? This is my mission. This is then this is what I would say. Do you want to commit? Do you want a promise? Do you want to do that? Do you want this will be your mission? So
Mhm.
let's write it as well. Okay, now how do you execute this mission? Let's go turn it into objectives. Through this mission, I want to execute it through pillars. Let's turn this mission probably two pillars. In my case, I had three major pillars: advancing Abu Dhabi as a global beacon of art and culture, incubator of the arts and creativity, an active force for social unity and creative communities. I had three pillars.
Mhm.
In these three pillars, they came from the vision, they came from the mission. And these pillars, so we had three pillars, we accumulated in three pillars. In these pillars, to achieve the objectives, we defined them into objectives. And these, like rewarding excellence in the gateway to knowledge, like investing in the capacity of rewarding excellence, investing in the capacity of the young, but like grants for education,
Mhm.
uh, like projects to make it happen, like support to move forward for the so many ways,
Mhm.
creative leadership. Uh, all that was part of our My Gateway to Knowledge for the objective of investing in the youth. So mission, the vision, and
Vision.
answer ourselves the mission, the pillars that to make this the progress, to make the difference, to make it happen. We want to put it on the ground. What does it take? And on these pillars, each one has an objective, and they all go back to one objective, which is what you want to achieve.
Mhm. Mhm.
Each one has, which is the problem. This is the problem, this is the root of the problem. I want to serve, I want to make it, I want to change, and I want to make a progress over there. I think and of course, think of funds. Think how, okay, with all that, now let's see how I'm going to get my funds,
Yeah.
how I'm going to convince people. Farida, we're driven by passion.
Mhm.
So what we like and what we think we make a difference. Now, the greatest challenge for me is to convince other of that there is a problem here, and I'm going to take your money to make a change.
Absolutely.
Not, so not only to convince them to come on board, to that there is, to recognize that there is a problem.
Yeah.
Lovely, recognize that there's a problem now with me. Please now help me to make it happen, to make the difference, to make a change, but with your money as well. So this is another type of challenge. So we need to think how we can bring people on board with us, and how we can fund this, good cause. Claire. So this is in a nutshell, if I answered your question. I have one thing to add, Claire.
Of course.
Forgive me, Farida, if I say,
No, no,
I
of
have
course.
one more thing to add. In this exercise, Farida, you will have people who will come with you on board and support you and move forward with you. And you will have many who will not. And he would probably, I will always say, no matter what, they did not understand. So this is another challenge. You can waste time going head to head, or you can embrace them. No matter what, you say, I understand you, but please don't stop in my way. I am moving forward. And with me, really, Farida, God help who stands in my way. Just God help.
I love this so much, Your Excellency. It's like, and I know we have a lot of people on the call and we've done this for other people, but it's like this session is made for me. I am so inspired right now. Thank you so much for all these words. I mean, just so impressive in how you, with very simple words, explain to us something that is very complex in real life. And where you mention things like perseverance and being clear about your why. Why are you doing something? Because I think that as long as you're clear on the why, it is going to carry you through these difficult moments. It is going to carry you through conversations where people do not believe in what you are saying, but you have that backup because you know exactly where you come from and where your energy and perseverance comes from. So I think that's a beautiful way of putting this. Thank you so much for that. My last question, and I do encourage people on the call, if you have any final questions for Her Excellency, please write them in the Q&A. I'll try to squeeze them in. But my last question, Your Excellency, and you've alluded to it a couple of times already. We live in a complex world, and it seems like it's only becoming more complex. And it also looks like the time where we as individuals or as individual organizations can do everything is over. So we need to collaborate. And I was wondering if you could perhaps just share a couple of words on how you approach collaboration as a philanthropist. How do you look at that? Who do you choose? How do you make sure that you are aligned in what you want to achieve?
Absolutely. Farida, first of all, I think we all need to believe that we need to help each other. Uh, and I mean, as a philanthropist, we are built, we do what we do because we want to help, because we care. When you want to help, Farida, it doesn't matter if I pay 200 and you pay 50, and if I put 1 million and you put two. It's not about how much in currency you measure your payment for the cause. It is the purpose that we all have the same purpose, which is the love of humanity. We want to make a difference for humanity. So we talk to each other, we find each other. I always tell my partners, one step we have achieved already by partnering together, we are connected. And with some of the partners, Farida, for 5 years, 6 years, we didn't do anything. But we both met each other, talked and brainstormed and suggested. It didn't work. It doesn't matter. We were all patient. When the right time came, we invested in our goals together. We helped each other. So I had an idea. They support me to make this a great idea happen. They had an idea. I supported them, whether it's financial support or connection or, the help is from 0 to 100, from 1 to 100, the way you can help. But connect based on mutual respect. Be patient. We are with the same love. Believe that if I help Farida in her goal, this is a plus. This is my goal achieved. This is my goal achieved.
I think that's a
No
beautiful way of
competition.
looking at it. Yeah, absolutely.
No competition. No
Yeah,
competition there. The competition is to serve humanity.
I
This
love
has to
that.
be our conviction.
I think this is so beautiful, Your Excellency, because we do sometimes see in the third sector that there is a almost commercial-like competition between organizations, which wastes so much energy and so much time and so many resources. And I love that you just basically disregard that. I think that is the way to go, and to say we need to complement each other, we need to contribute to each other. I have a few questions from the audience, and I will just limit myself to actually one or two main ones, if I may. Someone is asking, how should we communicate to our family members our philanthropic vision? How do we get them on board? And would you recommend that if you are from a kind of multi-people family business, to delegate one person to the task? Is that something you would recommend to a family business that wants to look at philanthropy?
Okay. A family business, you need a structure for that, definitely. So one or more member to keep on working on. Look, in the family business, I'll speak about my own family, and I give an example of my mother later on. But in the family business, like my husband's family business, they have many charitable causes.
Mhm.
And my husband told me something. Your question, I'm going to take it to A and B. So let's start with the family business and if dedicate one or more. So Muhammad, when he knew I was having this webinar, and he told me, you know, Huda, in one of their charitable causes, they found it was for Abdurrahman Kano. I kept it here. I wanted to really phrase his words. And it was for one of his uncles who passed away, Allah yarhamu, Abdurrahman Jasim Kano. They made a company, they called the Abdurrahman Jasim Kano company, and from charity to philanthropy. That's the interesting thing. I told him, what do you mean from charity? He said, Huda, we started like a charity cause from small donation, Umrah, Hajj, trips, mosque, and so on, to it developed, he told me, by itself. We noticed that large, more capital investments, such as funding for construction, a home of the elderly, and others were needed, and they were needed as well to keep them working to sustainability. And he said, we noticed that we moved from one charity to give straight to being to a demand to sustain and develop that. And this this company, they call it a company because for a reason or another, who he shared became a philanthropy.
Wow.
So they discover, but so you need more than, sometimes you need one or more than one in the family, because you still need Farida to organize it. You still need the governance. Just when you're speaking, really here a lot of investment in this. So you still need all what we spoke about. But the other side, I don't know if I answered your question. So we can have one or more who, because we still need everything else. What we said, governance is, and major one is governance. The other question, how do we pass it to our young generation? Farida, I was brought in a family that charity is embedded in them, in us. So if you, with your with your children, let's speak about our children, this generation and the generation to come. When they are it's funny, Farida, my mother never like brought me and taught me as in this is how you need to do it, or, but we were brought up with, I saw her, I saw my father, the cousins, the family, but it starts with the father and the mother, what we do. And then, you know, there were questions, do you like to do that? Why don't you do this one? So I'll speak about my mother, one thing, and I'll move to my family. My mother passed away a couple of years ago, Allah yarhamha. And one of my sisters in Saudi Arabia, Nada, was in charge of always the charity of my mother's, her little notebook, you know, written, you know, on the, and like in her notebook, this is to go to this house, and next to it, like there's a note, there's another note. This afternoon we have this family coming to the house. Make sure you have. So this is the basata, the simplicity of it, you know. And so in this notebook, we found something, because she was always telling my sister, be careful, be careful. Whatever you do, you have to reach out to all these families that you know, I was privileged to take care of. And you know what? Abdul Aziz, my mother, Fahima Al-Khamis, was a microfinancing philanthropist. Without knowing that she is a microfinancing philanthropist or a philanthropist, we discovered that she had families, she supported them in their seed fund to start their business.
That's fantastic.
And this is it. Nobody have taught her. The seed fund came, the business started, the al-mahsul, revenue and all that came in, and this is how you know how simple when it comes to. So this is in terms, what do I do with my kids? I just ask them, let's say Abdurrahman, Noor, Abdulatif, and Met Abdulatif wants to invest in the philanthropy for, he wants to support. So he's now on the way to build up. They're in their 20s. Noor, I see her more with supporting the need of endangered species and also immediate help for like also animals and pets and so on. Abdurrahman, the nature, Abdurrahman is more into special needs, and he wants to also support and this they think long term, but they live with us. The new investment in the young generation who wants to go into NASA, into so it's support and grants so on. So but Farida, I did not teach them anything. They are brought, they are learning themselves. So we talk, and this is if I answered your question.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, beautifully, Your Excellency. I have to say, I'm very, very sorry. We have to come to an end. I could keep going for another hour. I'm sure Claire has the same feeling.
Absolutely.
I would really not like to end the session without truly thanking you for giving us such a valuable and unique insight into not just the achievements, because the achievements we can see what you have done, but what you have shared with us is really how we can learn from your experience and try to replicate a little bit of that passion and resilience that you have shown on your path. So truly for me, it's been a personal privilege and so much learning. My head is buzzing with ideas and thoughts. So this is really fantastic. And I'm sure also that for our audience, that this was a very extremely valuable session. Claire, would you like to have any closing words?
Just to echo that, so Your Excellency, it was all that we hoped for and much, much more. So truly a masterclass in your personal philanthropy. I wish we could capture you and publish you. Well, we will try to do that via this session. You are part of our learning series, and I have no doubt we will come back to you very soon for more opportunities for collaboration and partnership. But really, a really huge thank you for making time for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for your trust in me. Thank you very much, and for giving me this opportunity. Claire and Farida, I would like to end up with one word. No matter what we do, no matter what challenges we face, love, love. Embrace this, embrace everyone. The one who opposes you, the one who are with you, and keep on loving. This will keep us going. And this will always be this will bring us our will more to continue. This where our resilience will come. Love. Thank
What
you.
wonderful final words. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I would like to thank our audience who have been with us. I do apologize. I know I've missed out on many questions, but the time just went too fast. Feel free to email us if you'd like to know anything between Claire and myself. I'm sure we can try and help out. I have shared the links to our next two webinars. Please subscribe, register, send us questions that you would like us to discuss. This is your forum. Our whole purpose of this series and of the collaboration between CSP and Tharawat is to really be a support system for everybody who wants to perpetuate the good and the impact and the change that we want to see in this world. So thank you very much, Claire, Your Excellency, truly a great privilege and an honor. And we hope to welcome you back very soon, like Claire said. Thank you very much for everyone's attention and time. Thank you.
Thank you. The honor is mine. Thank you.